Hello, 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 hello. Hello, welcome back to another live stream, guys. Very good morning to all of you. Same, we are reading for 30 minutes. I want to show you something which I ordered for my gym. So, this is the um, shaker, shaker that I have ordered for my gym. As you can see, bold fit, bold fit का है. So इसमें क्या है? So this is for from Bold Fit. खरीदा है भाई, कोई स्पॉन्सर नहीं है. नहीं. And this is the creatine muscle take 100% creatine, which is 400 gram unflavored. 3 महीने चिकन चलना तो सीधे. So यही मैंने ऑर्डर किया था. And let's start reading for 30 minutes. So let's go. Let me set the timer. Interact. Start. Timer started. So let's read, guys. So the chapter number is 52, where to expand, from this book. As you know, those who are seeing my live stream, where to expand. While it's true that all the companies needs to expand, serious thought that has to be given to where exactly they can invest. This holds true even for individuals, especially when it comes to investing in property. Chanakya had advised, as between a small proximate land and a big land that is distant, the small proximate land is preferable, for it is easy to obtain, to protect, and to get rescue oneself. The distant one is the opposite of this. The Tata Motors Trinamool Congress of West Bengal state tussle over a piece of land in 2008 brings to my mind this particular verse from Chanakya Arthashastra. In the case of the nano plant, the Mumbai headquarters, Tata stood to lose 500 crore as they dropped their project in Singur. According to Chanakya, an alternative site for the rupees 1 lakh car should be somewhere closer to headquarters and where local leaders are open to discussion. So Maharashtra or Gujarat was the best option and finally Gujarat won. Let us see why. Proximity, the land located nearer is always most advantageous even if it is smaller than far off land. That is because it's easily accessible, which makes application of decision a lot quicker. In the case of West Bengal, it's now becoming difficult to get the concerned leaders to even come to the discussion table. With distance being a huge disadvantage, it's difficult to find a common ground easily. Moreover, local leaders will always have a bigger say compared to any well-wishing but an external investor. Obtaining and obtaining 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 and protecting. One can understand the local laws and the demands of people residing nearby more easily. Thus, it's easy to acquire and obtain. It's also easy to protect it. Even if there is a difference of opinion, the local people and their leaders can be approached easily and discussions can reach fruitful conclusions faster. Rescuing oneself. In a worst case scenario, it's always vital to rescue oneself and the team immediately. The primary the primary duty of a leader is to protect the safety of his subject. Imagine the cost involved in the Tata were to airlift their 800 strong force from West Bengal to safeguard them from the local attacks. This would be more easier and cost effective if they were closer to the head office base in Mumbai. Basically, a company has to look at all such dimensions before making an investment in a new place since in the end success can be achieved only through a win-win situation for all. And of course, the leadership and the local government policies also matter the most. This is the advantage that the Gujarat had. Peace and war, terrorism, bomb blast, communal riots, political protests have become a regular part of our lives. While this is not a good for any country or even its governance, is it in a, is it in any way linked to the business community and working class people? Of course. The concept of risk management as related to the business growth is becoming an interesting field of study. But what does Chanakya has have to say about it? For when the gain is equal, there should be peace. When unequal, war is considered desirable. This is very interesting statement that Kautilya makes. If there is a win-win situation between two parties, we should consider peace. However, if we are only at the receiving end, war has to be considered. Now, how do we decide if we still need peace talks or if it's time to attack? Punishments are necessary. In addition to commerce, Arthashastra is also a book about law and order in society. Therefore, it is only known as Dandaniti. Danda, the rod, and the Niti, the strategy, that is the book of punishments. A- Only if the fear of punishments exists will there be discipline and peace in society. No one really desires war, but at times it is unavoidable. War against terrorism is what politicians are now talking about all around the world. But consider all options. Chanakya's famous theory of Dana, Danda, Bheda comes into play here. First, try talks and discussions, not only with enemies but also with your team members. Understand what the enemy really wants. Also, have a dialogue with the leaders of our society, businessmen, academicians, artists, spiritual groups, media, etc. Get all of them involved and try to understand what we as a society think about it. Decide and act. After all this analysis, it's important to decide the next course of action. There comes a time in every country's history when a firm decision must be taken and acted upon. Such a decision not only changes the course of history but also decides the very survival of the nation. During the British Raj, many believe that our colony was governed by the divide and rule policy. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, our first Home Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, had a different opinion. He said, "We divide ourselves and they rule." Tackling terrorism. India attack. So what's new? Ask any Indian how try how tired he is listening to the same news every year. It seems as if he's almost used to hearing about such terrible attacks. Most people have a fatalistic philosophy. आखिर एक दिन तो मरना ही है. After all, we have to die one day. But there were also numerous disturbed readers who sent me emails asking if Chanakya had suggested any solution for terrorism in the Arthashastra. He had, Chanakya had said, three magistrates, all of them of rank of ministers, shall carry out suppressions of criminals. This is opening verse of Book 4 of Kautilya's Arthashastra on tackling suppressions of criminals. Make a strong policy. How many times have we observed that even the most deadly criminals manage to get away scot free in the country? There is no fear of the law. Therefore, the state has to adopt a much stronger law and order policy. Did you note how after 9/11 America did not suffer from any terrorist attacks? In our case, the acts just grew bigger and deadlier with time. Since 2004, we have faced as many as 16 major terrorist attacks. Why do we still need a reason to wake up? Why are we not ready to learn from our mistakes and rectify them? A strong stand against terrorism is the need of the hour. Study and execute. Our ministers should study how America and other countries have tackled similar situations. They should learn from them and make an action plan. And after doing this, it's important that they do not just sit back and do nothing. Our ministers should learn to execute this plan. In the final showdown, the fate of the country is always in the hands of the leaders. They have to learn to be proactive. Get senior judges together. Read what Chanakya said centuries ago. Not one but three judges should come together. Why? Because they will offer different viewpoints and perspectives. However, in the same sutra, Chanakya also advises that these magistrates should have the rank of ministers. In the olden days, a minister was close to the king. The same situations can be replicated today by giving our law experts and judiciary more power, especially to those who have already proved the soundness of, of their executive powers. As they say, let's work hard now so that we can sleep peacefully later. So we are going to the next chapter, which is people growing under the mentor. In my life, mentor is the very best luxury that we got if you have any mentor. Growing under a mentor, we require help of experienced people while undertaking various projects or assignments. However, even though we want guidance from our seniors, we do not want them to decide how we should do our work. Freedom coupled with guidance is what every employee needs. This guide can be mentor. A mentor is an evolved leader. A leader commands while a mentor directs. Okay, leader will command and the mentor is directs. A leader is a part of a process. A leader is a part of a process. A mentor is a catalyst who guides without being part of the action. Each employee has to be nurtured with the help of a senior person who is experienced in the particular skill. This system of mentoring has taken strong roots in today's corporate training structure. For instance, Narayan Murthy is now officially the chief mentor of the Infosys group. We have a good mentor around us, but we should know how to benefit from their company and experiences. The Arthashastra gives us various tips on how to do this. Accept his authority. Training and discipline are acquired by accepting the authoritativeness of the teachers in the respective fields. The junior needs to have an attitude of surrender towards his mentor, his guru. Initially, this may seem difficult for a novice but brimming with ideas. However, accepting the mentor's authority helps build discipline. The person should be able to accept that the mentor understands the subjects better than he does. At times, it might be difficult to accept his decisions, but he still needs to follow them. The complete picture will become clearer in due course of the time. Constant association. He should have constant association with elders in learning from the sake of improving his training, since training has its root in that. Trying to associate with mentors' thought, ideas, and a way of thinking is very essential. This helps to develop the mindset required for this job. Being in the company of the mentor gives us a practical insight into the theories we have heard about management. The basics of any training is to improve oneself. This will happen in the presence of the mentor. Keep learning and applying. Continuous study ensures a trained intellect, from intellect, practical applications, and from practical applications, self positions. Finally, one has to keep applying what he has learned from the mentor. Continuous study helps one develop the intellect. Then he has to test his intellectual understanding by applying the lessons in practical situations. Once he sees the result, he is convinced about his knowledge. Now he has mastered the field. In fact, with the help of his mentor, the theory and practice have become one. Motivating employees. Human resource departments in modern corporations are focused on how to motivate the employees or guide them to perform better and increase productivity. Chanakya uses motivational techniques in various departments of the state. Many of the methods can today be applied in the corporate world when it comes to handling employees. Using this deep understanding of human nature, Chanakya developed a system of motivation which worked with the carrot, the stick, and many more other motivating factors. The applications of this theory of motivation, samadhana, danda, and bheda, are unlimited. Sama or consultation. This is the first step that should be taken whenever it applies that an employee is not working properly. Listen to him. Have a clear understanding of this of his side of the story. Senior manager get information from various sources. They will get the whole picture. If they listen to the information directly from the person involved, one can discuss and suggest various solutions for the particular problem. If it is a complex problem, external experts could help. Dana, reward. Employees work for wages and salaries. That is the key motivating factor that ensures they stay on in the organization. The next thing is honor. Without these two things, two kinds of encouragement, no employee will have any reason to continue working in that particular company. Therefore, Chanakya suggests rewarding employees sufficiently in order to get work done. The reward could be in the form of incentives, paid vacations, bonuses, or promotions. Another reward would be awarding employees for their performance, such as the Best Employee Award or Most Productive Person Award, a common practice in several companies today. Then there are punishments. Many employees may not show any signs of improvements in spite of constant prodding and various other efforts. Neither reward or nor incentives will bring them out of their lethargic state. This is serious situations. If not corrected, a sense of complacency can spread through the whole organization. Therefore, Chanakya recommends a strong step punishments. A rap can be subtle or gross, depending on the person as well as the situations that warrant it. It can be a warning, a suspension, a cut in salary, or even a demotion, bheda or split. Though this is not encouraged at all, it is the final step when none of the other methods work. It is concluded that the organizations and the employee cannot work together and if further. It is the best part ways for the benefits of both. If the large organizations that can bear the final expenses for the particular employee, he can perhaps be transferred to the department where his productivity will not be a major issue. In small firms or employee productivity oriented organizations, he must be asked to leave. So, 57. Bidding goodbye to employees. The skilled manpower is increasing in our country. The competition for hiring better employees is growing at an unprecedented rate among companies. Unprecedented, unprecedented rate among companies. The attrition rate is going up, and the challenge of retaining your able force is increasing. This is scenario in almost all sectors of the company. Every entrepreneur is thinking about the and forming strategies to tackle such incidents. During such a phase in any industry, Chanakya says masters may be a testimony for servants, priests, and preceptors, for disciples, and parents for sons. If your subordinate is leaving the organization for better prospects and you are not able to provide them with the same benefits, it is the duty of a senior to offer his best wishes to the juniors and say goodbye. The above verse says that the master should also provide certificate and references, let him prosper in his life, is what you should feel for that individual. However, parting such parting of ways is not very easy to accept. Accept. How can we make such moves in a life more positive and happy for both parties? Tips for employees leaving the organization: give advance notice. Every company has a minimum notice period. Make it a point to fulfill that agreement and do not just run away. Speak to your boss and make him understand why you are leaving. Replace yourself. When you leave, the biggest question for a boss is who is going to do your work? The best solution is to have an alternative ready. When even you can look for potential people and bring them to your boss attention. Train another new person. The best way to tackle this situation is to get a person trained to do your work before your last day. Tips for employers: accept reality. People will leave, and you must accept this important fact. Do not accept that someone accept, not accept, expect, expect. This is expect, and that is accept. This is expect, and that is accept. Expect that someone will be devoted to you all their life. Continuing training. Keep recruiting and training people on a regular basis. If you have a recruitment of 50 people, train 75 to 100 people as a ready backup. Multitasking. Teach all employees how to perform multiple processes. So when someone leaves, you can immediately ask others to take up his task. Chanakya suggests that no employers should let his employees leave after a fight and with hard feelings. You never know when you will require the person again. In Mahabharata, we find this pearl of wisdom. Life is like logs of wood flowing in a river. They will flow together for some time and part and meet again. So you never know when time will bring your old acquaintances back in your life, like my manager. Managers into leaders. 58. Human capital, intellectuals capital, human resources. These are terms used to define the value of people in the organizations. These days, every organization is focusing more and more on these aspects. Today, a company's ROI, return on investments, productivity, as well as the profits in all the areas are based on the quality of people it has. And organizations may have good manpower in terms of numbers, but if these peoples are not fully productive or not working to their optimum potential, the organization is at a loss. The first challenge of any organization is to get good people. The next challenge is to train those good people into the becoming good leaders. On this, Chanakya says when he, Prince, is ready for it, knowledge experts should train him. When the HR department is recruiting people for business schools or even for other companies, they are initially looking for good managers. But if the company has to scale up, the next challenge is to get them good leaders. Even in the above verse, Chanakya calls for the identification of potential leaders and then for providing them with leadership training. But how do we understanding if a manager or an employee is a potential leader? Here are some tips. Leadership is a mindset. Leadership is not a position or designation. It is the way of thinking, a mindset. Therefore, a business leader has to keep an eye on the quality of the minds of his people. A leadership mind is a great mind. It is continuously learning. If it does not, get stuck when it sees a problem. I will seek alternative and find different methods to get out of it. It challenges itself. Solution focus. A potential leader is a solution focus. Once I was conducting a training program which dealt with the topic from good managers to great leaders. A delegate asked me, my boss is always the decision maker. He usually brings the solution. The why, then why should I not just go to him with problems? I said, yes, you are right. You have to present the problem to him, but go to him with two or three alternative solutions. Let the boss decide with this, which solution is best for the organization. But the thinking also has to be done to you, not only your boss. Think solutions. This is the mantra for success. Implementation. Most managers are good planners but bad implementers. The difference between the good manager and a leader is this implementation aspect. Just do it. At times you do make mistakes, but learn from the mistakes and move on in life. Delegating work. Look at my organizations and you are bound to find a boss who is frustrated with his subordinates, while junior can be blamed for non-productivity. To some extent, most of the problems are caused by the leader himself due to improper delegations of work. In Arthashastra, Chanakya had included a chapter on the training of elephants. He said, in conformity with the appearance, you should give exercise to the gentle and the dull, and to the animal with mixed characteristics in various types of work or in accordance with the season. So Chanakya calls for identifying potential candidates as per their an elephant in this case, nature and even recording to the different seasons as it may affect the way they work. In human terms, we can understand how much thought goes into choosing the right person for the right job. After all, mistakes at the stage can result in a real frustrations in the long run. But how does one do this? Evaluate people. This is the first step for effectively carrying out what is called man management. Many bosses fail to do this. When an interview is conducted, a well written CV or resume can impress everyone. Even the answer and the opinions revealed during the interviews will help you realize if the candidate is promising. But there is a big difference between the promises and the actual delivery of work. Give yourself time before passing any kind of judgment on anyone. Always observe and study a person for a minimum of 3 months. That is what training periods are for. Watch them closely and observe their strengths and weaknesses. You will get a better grasp of the person nature, behavior, and the potential output. Different situations, a person who is very successful in one venture may not be successful if asked to handle a different situations. Even the most successful salesman may fail when it comes to selling a different product or in a different region. So understand that each person output is not guaranteed forever. Different situations and circumstances can change a person's productivity and even performance. And you have to identify these traits. Different timings. Next, you really need to understand how person output changes at different times. For example, students generally learn much better if it study during the early morning. That is simply because the mind tends to become lazy later on in the day, and hence memorizing information requires less efforts in the morning. Chanakya referred to this as seasons. So find out what are the best productive times for your subordinates and allocate work in accordance with the season. All successful businessmen and leaders know the art of delegating work. If you want to be a successful non-manager too, then thinking, planning, studying, and experimenting with human psychology will become essential. Protecting old employees. Look at the business organization which is over 20 years of old, and you will find that it has two generations working there. Both these generations will have different mindsets and attitudes. Will the younger generation has great opportunities and switches jobs very easily. The older generation is more committed and steady. We see a similar dichotomy. Dichotomy. This is the nice word. Dichotomy. Let me search. Dichotomy. D-I-C. Dicey. Dichotomy. Which means the separation that exists between two groups or things that are completely opposite and two different from and different from each other. Which, which it means like God or evil, like that, like that. Dichotomy. Where is where is dichotomy? Oh, we have only 48 seconds left. And allocate work in accordance with the seasons. All successful businessmen and the leaders know the art of delegating work. If you want to be successful non-major manager too, then the thinking, planning, studying, experimenting with the human psychology will become essential. ठीक है. Protecting old employees. हाँ यही तो चल रहा था. Protecting old employees. Look at the business organization which is over 20 years old, and you will find that it has two generations working there. Both these generations have different mindsets and attitudes, while the younger generation has great opportunities and switches jobs very easily. The older generation is more committed with and steady. We see a similar dichotomy in today's rural divide in India, wherein the urban residents and inherently restless and no on the move, while the denizens are more shaded and satisfied with life. Chanakya had suggestions for employees who want to create appropriate policy for both. So that is my time, bro. We are on the 106th page. We also बहुत सारा बाकी है. So that's it for today, guys. So we have read for the 30 minutes, and that's it for today. Let's see in next part. Okay. Okay. Bye bye.